Greetings all. Time to have another look at the world's storms. This one is Hurricane Rosa, which has intensified from yesterday and is now a Category 4 hurricane with 125 knot winds, and that's 145 miles an hour. And it is in the East Pacific and is heading on a curved path towards the Baja Peninsula. This is the current National Hurricane Center forecast track, and Hurricane Rosa takes this curving path and actually intensifies a little bit further to start with, and then it begins to weaken to a hurricane, a regular hurricane strength from a major hurricane. So this would be a Category 2, probably a Category 1, and then a tropical storm at landfall on the Baja Peninsula on Monday evening. The reason why it's predicted to weaken is partly because of the large-scale atmospheric conditions, increasing wind shear, but also because of the reduced ocean heat content, which is shown here on the sea surface temperatures. The storm is forecast to move up towards the Baja Peninsula, and as it does so, it encounters cooler and cooler temperatures. And anything in yellows and greens is not favorable for a tropical cyclone. So it is expected to weaken prior to landfall at tropical storm strength. As you can see, we cannot say the same thing about the Western Pacific, where there is Typhoon Trami approaching Japan. You can see that the waters in the region to the south of Japan are plenty warm for a significant tropical cyclone. And here is that significant tropical cyclone, Typhoon Trami, which is a Category 2 system with winds of 90 knots, and is heading towards Okinawa and the Ryukyu Islands, and then onwards to Japan. It is still forecast to intensify slightly before landfall on Japan, before passing up the length of the Japanese islands. This is the forecast track from the Joint Typhoon Warning Center, and although it's quite hard to see, you can see just about that the storm passes almost directly over Okinawa, and then as it moves up towards Japan, it's making landfall in this region and then moving up the island. But on the 30th of 6Z, on the 30th, is up here, and so you can see it is at 100 knots at landfall, or just prior to landfall, on the main islands of Japan. That's a Category 3 system. And it's worth remembering that as we look at the Global Forecasting System model forecast here of Typhoon Trami moving up towards Japan, that the last Category 3 typhoon to make landfall on Japan was only earlier this month. That was Typhoon Jebi, and that caused quite a significant amount of disruption, including throwing a tanker underneath a bridge and shutting off access to one of the airports. And even before we're done with Typhoon Trami, another typhoon is going to be lurking out, most likely in the West Pacific. This is consistent in both the GFS and ECMWF models. And this storm is also tracking up towards Japan. So it is potentially back-to-back typhoon landfalls in Japan coming up. Meanwhile, in the last outlook, we were looking at the development of a possible subtropical system in the Mediterranean Sea. Somewhat unusual system, but these things occur from now and again, and overnight, sure enough, this thing has developed quite significantly with curving bands. And let's take a little look at the forecast for this. This is the European Center model prediction for this storm, and as you can see, it moves up towards Greece and seems to go and hit the southern tip of mainland Greece and moving through the Aegean Sea and into Turkey. Moving back to just prior to landfall on southern Greece, this is the surface winds. If I take a little click in where it's strongest, it comes out as 44 knots, and that would make it a tropical storm strength system as it approaches landfall or close to landfall. This is a different model. This one's called the Icon, and it also takes the system and takes it towards southern Greece before somewhat bashing it up as it moves across the complicated topography. In terms of where we could experience impacts, I don't know. There's going to be heavy rainfall, no doubt, and it'll be focused probably over particular mountains or particular regions. Well, it's Friday and I'm going to have to wrap this up, so sorry, a bit of a rush job, but this is the 10-day global forecasting system model, and we've got model forecast. We've got our 2 typhoons going into Japan. The first one there is Trami, and the second one, don't know what name that will have. There's also a hurricane forecast to develop in the Central Pacific, but it doesn't look to be threatening land, so it's why I didn't really mention it. We've got Hurricane Rosa heading in towards the Baja Peninsula and weakening to a tropical storm, hopefully prior to landfall. And our Mediterranean system can't really see, unfortunately, with this. So yeah, that's about it for the moment. There's something in the Ocean too, but blah de blah de blah. That is about all I can do for now. I need to go get a beer. See you later.